Welcome to Living Fuel TV. This is Casey Krejci. Recently, we've talked a lot about cold and flu season and flu shots and how sugar drags down your immunity and the specifics on how to do that. We encourage you to go back and look at those shows because it's important information. It will help you make better decisions this cold and flu season. Today, we're going to discuss how to avoid the cold and flu in the first place. Now, there's several things to do. They may seem very obvious, but most of us are not doing them. We obviously recently talked about sugar and how sugar can drastically reduce your immunity within 15 minutes of having a high sugar meal. For instance, if you have a meal, let's just say that you're having a 700 calorie meal, and say 60% of that is carbohydrates, which oftentimes it's a lot more for most people. And if you have that much carbohydrates, just that small seemingly amount of carbohydrates, you now have had approximately 100 plus grams of carbohydrates. A study was done in the mid-1970s that says that that meal will drag down your immune system starting 15 minutes after you eat it for 2 hours or more, and will drop it 90% and greater. So think about it. If you're in the public, which most of us are, and people are exposed to cold and flu, then you want to have your immunity at its max. Sitting down to a typical American meal, high starch, high carb meal, is not a good way to avoid the cold and flu. So try to minimize the starches and the sugars and the sweet drinks and things along those lines, and focus on more clean foods, greens instead of grains, for instance, and have your broad spectrum of nutrients, obviously, clean foods, and avoid junk food. Junk food, fried foods, things that are obviously junk food, those things will drag down your immunity as well. So to maximize your immunity, you have to be really clean on the nutrition side and be very understand that just because it's a grain doesn't mean it's good for you or that it's even helping your immunity. So these little things, along with maximizing your vitamin D levels. Now, vitamin D is a modulator of immunity. It is involved in basically managing your immune system. Most people have low vitamin D levels, and particularly in the winter months when the sun is not shining as long and they're not out in the sun as much and it's too cold to have your skin exposed to the sun, then vitamin D levels suffer. So even the levels that they used to call, that medicine used to call and still often calls normal of 30, blood levels of 30, 25 hydroxy vitamin D levels of 30, is still insufficient and deficient. The thinking is now, the Vitamin D Council and many others now recommend blood levels, 25 hydroxy vitamin D levels around 70. So 70 is the number that you're looking for, about 70. You can have a little higher, a little lower, but still, in order to get there, you're going to need to take constant vitamin D3, cholecalciferol. Vitamin D3, say 5 even to 10,000 IU per day for an extended period of time, testing every, say, 30 days to see what your levels are. You can order online 25 hydroxy vitamin D tests in a lot of places like Life Extension Foundation, lef.org. Check your vitamin D levels, or the next time you go to get your blood test at the doctor, check your vitamin D status. And if it's low, understand that you are at risk for cold or flu or other problems as well. So these small techniques will help you avoid the cold and flu and maximize your immunity. God bless you and have a great day.